Hi, good morning. We're here with Martin Holdsworth from IDR Law in Harrogate. How are you doing, Martin?
I'm very well, thank you, Mike. Very well indeed.
Good stuff. So if we could get things started and you tell us a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
Yeah, of course. Martin Holdsworth. I'm a lawyer for my sins, qualified in 1995. Been dealing with a particular area of law, very niche, called contentious probate, so disputes that arise invariably on death, but in connection with inheritance. And I've been doing that specifically for about 15 years plus. So when I first started it, it didn't have a name, but now it's called contentious probate within the legal circuits. So yeah, quite some time. Seen a lot of change.
I bet. So in terms of your business then on IDR Law, how did you get involved in that? Is it yours? Did you have...
Yeah, it is mine. I've worked at law firms that have been large in size, so sort of 25 million turnover plus practices with lots of partners, and sort of grown teams doing contentious probate within those firms, and then tried smaller firms as well to try and find the perfect environment, really, or forum to grow a firm in a way that I wanted to grow it. And in the end, decided that I should set up my own practice. So that's what I did. So IDR Law was set up back in 2017. So we've been running 6 years now. We're the only law firm actually in the entire country that just deals with contentious probate. So it's very focused on that particular area of law, and it's grown from me to now 16 lawyers that work for me, and support staff taking us up to a headcount of about 22, 23. In fact, I think we're the only PE-backed law firm of our size as well doing this type of work. So that happened about 5 months ago. So lots happened in 6 years, and a lot of that's to do with focus. Yeah,
Fantastic. So it's law work and business person work, entrepreneurial work, and
yeah, it's great. Is it most business sectors you'll find that sort of the entrepreneurs, there are quite a few around. In law, in particularly in niche areas, in private client areas, because we're so transactionally trained as lawyers, is that it's quite difficult in bigger firms to become entrepreneurial in nature. And if that's your typeset, as it is with me, you almost have to create your own rules. Fortunately, entrepreneurs tend to be risk takers, so they will have a go at it to make it happen. But there's not many around, and I suppose that's good for business, because that means that you tend to stand out in the legal sector, whereas in others you might not. But yeah, absolutely, you need to learn about business first, and then almost law second.
Is that where you stand out then from other practitioners and your sector? Do you think what's the kind of USP?
I hope it's that positive. If you ask them, I don't know what they would say, but I think what they would say is I am very, very passionate about the area of work that I deal with. I sort of really enjoy this blend that contentious probate provides me, and I think the gift of the job to me is that to go into a family and a whole kind of maelstrom of emotion and problems and issues, and to be able to make a difference, find a logical way through it whilst being empathetic and planning. And it's against a set of laws and regulations and cases that are quite complicated in an emerging kind of area of law, because much of it's unregulated still, believe it or not. So for me, it was a perfect mix on a day where you could make a difference, you could commercially develop something of meaning, but also setting up IDR meant that I could double down on my own sense of family and family values. I think, as we've spoken before, is that I've got a family of 6, and my wife was a lawyer, and being lawyers and running a family is really difficult. And to create something like we have that enables people to do that has probably been my biggest, when I'm looking back, my biggest kind of fillip, really. I'm quite proud of that bit. But generally speaking, there's lots to go at.
So that journey of having a family of 6 altogether, lawyers in the family, and setting it up, going through private equity. What's the journey been like for you in those 6 years to date?
For me personally, me personally,
how would you describe it in the words? People say roller coaster, or
yeah, they're not lying. I think it's not a straight line. There's that's absolutely for sure. And I think the best advice I could probably give anybody is the advice I give myself is don't look down. You know, if you've got an absolute clear path forward, prep it within an inch of its life. So prepare it. And then the risks that I will be prepared to take are those where I'm gambling on my own self or views of self or ideas going forward. So you're not relying on third parties to do A, B, and C before you can succeed. So, but it is, there's no way around it. There's emotionally, it is draining. The satisfaction levels are great. You know, you'll don't look down, keep walking forward, eyes forward, get to there, and then, but do remember to stop and look and see how far you've come, because it's amazing how far you can come if you just get out of your own way. But anybody that says it's an easy route has clearly not done it, because it's not. It's there are times when you're waking up at 3 a.m. worrying about cash flow. You know, any new business has got that. But would I do it any different? No, I wouldn't. It's for me, it's been incredibly satisfying seeing how everybody's developed and what we've created and it coming alive. Right, but it is without a doubt. You need support. You need good people around you to be able to sort of offload or give you a nudge in the right direction, or just tell you you're not mad. You know, the worries are real. So it's quite helpful to have that. And find them. You know, I was fortunate enough to find 2 or 3 people around me that were able to do that. And that's key. Absolutely key.
So what does the future look like for you as far as you can forecast it with your planning you mentioned earlier? What are the challenges or improvements that you're looking to make as you?
Well, for me, it's because I don't do any fee-earning any works anymore. So I'm not directly seeing clients. So I've lost that kind of bit of joy of seeing someone come into a room sort of very confused, upset, and leaving at least with knowledge and a plan, and that's lovely to see, because you come away knowing you've made a difference in somebody's life. But so now that's translated into, over the last few years, into doing the same with the practice and the people in it. So the lawyers we've got, we designed Family Flex. So the planning is to keep supporting families and lawyers to enable them to sort of define their own vision of success, and then build a forum that allows them to do it in that way and commercially giving good returns. And obviously that's why the private equities come in. We've also, my background is maths, physics, computer science. So I am again doubly odd as a lawyer. So I'm really interested in tech, and we've got one that we launched last week. We've got about 4 or 5 different tech applications that we've created, most of which aimed at preventing claims as it happens, rather than dealing with them, although some of them do. And that's where I think the future lies, is that we are getting more and more work coming in. We're growing in size, and the triage bit at the front end, the interaction with those inquiries coming through is where I think there's going to be, the AI application is going to work quite well, just to make sure that everybody who comes in gets good advice, even if that advice is you haven't got a claim, or you've got nothing you can do about it, or just don't do it because it's commercially not viable. At least they understand the whys. And that's very often the question that we get, more often than not, is why? Why have I been left out? Why do I have to do this? Why has this happened to me? Why did dad do that? Or why did mum do that? And we can start to answer some of that. So the trick is to do that with growth, is to maintain our sort of NPS score levels at 88 and 90 for client facing and referrer facing. So it's a challenge, but a nice one to have. So we're going
the technology advancements that are going on with what you do. So it sounds exciting.
It is. Yeah.
So with all that you've encompassed there in the 6 years, been a great summary of where you're at, I think. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way, if there's one that you can pick about being in business?
I think probably the biggest lesson is I know it sounds a bit daft, is listen to your gut. You know, the reasons why you set up and do the business is because you feel a strong calling or an affinity or a desire to do it. And you know, some people will say nobody wants to go into business to be commercially unsuccessful. But I think if your only driver is to try and make as much sort of profits as possible, invariably you won't be able to sustain that, because the journey is not up and down. So I think the biggest lesson I've learned is that I think it was right the way we did it. and I don't want to change that no matter how big we get, which is that what is the sole purpose? If I could encapsulate what we do in one sentence, it would be to make a difference in the lives of the clients, our team, and the referrers that send the clients to us. And I think if you just stick true to, there's a temptation to vary away from that as you start talking about numbers and profits and EBITDA and all the rest of it. That will follow. If you get your business right and get your relationships right, the rest will follow on if you get good people around you.
Good stuff. I like that. Nice and focused.
Yeah.
On a human level as opposed to monetary level.
It's always human. Like, it's all about relationships. Everything's about relationships. Money follows. Money's a measure, isn't it? We all want to be successful, but money measures that. But it's what you're doing to be measured by, isn't it? That's important. That's what you're going to be remembered by.
Good stuff. So what do you use for inspiration in doing? Reading, your team, clients you work with, people you've met?
Yeah, within and without, really. Is that I've come across quite a few people you go, I've learned that bit there, that little tweak, that little bit of have you thought about doing it this way, has always been really helpful. And again, I am fortunate, and I've got a network of people that we're all open with each other, so you get that opportunity to talk it through. I think more than anything, I think the person that kind of inspired me the most is, as trite as this might sound, is actually my wife, because she's fortunately had a stroke when she was just 38 and the kids were all very, very young, and she recovered and she has fatigue and things, but it's the resilience, the ability to bounce back and you go again, whatever comes away, you bounce back, you get up and you go again. And she displays that pretty much every day. And that's, it's pretty difficult not to be resilient in the face of that. You sit there and go, well, we can all do that. And we do. So I think that resilience, that bounce back ability, if you like, I even look for it now in my recruits. So I'm looking to see that if you've got a tough day, how are you day two? Do you bounce back and go again? Or do you look for something and someone to blame for things not going right? And I think resilience, in fact, in many ways, with any business, isn't it? It's just the resilience thing is so important, because you're going to get days where it's just awful and days where it's great, but bounce back.
Gotta keep going.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday and about energy, which is, if not going too deep on the universe and things like that, but ultimately that's that energy is what drives everything. And if you can't really sit still in a room for too long, because ultimately you've got energy and you need to keep on going, and how to focus that energy. So definitely.
I think it's absolutely right. You can call it and describe it and frame it however you want, but the reality is that I think, looking back, the resilience bit, if you're enthusiastic about what you do, so you're passionate about it, resilience becomes easier because you're still up for it. And I think people underestimate the impact of somebody enthusiastic and driven in the room in a good way, excited rather than banging the table. Banging the table will work for a short period of time, but enthusiasm and a passion for something is infectious. And again, you'll know people you've come across who they've been in the room because they are enthusiastic and they are driven by it, and they're great, but you've got to put people around them, because obviously we all have down days, we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. So but enthusiasm will go a long way. You combine that with resilience and you're halfway there, quite frankly.
Brilliant. Love that. Thank you for that share. So in terms of latest news, I mean, you've covered a bit there about app development and things like that, but if there's anything else, or even if it's just a case of sharing your website and letting us know where we can go to find you, feel free.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that at all. I think we are primarily, most of our work comes from other businesses, professionals who deal with families who find themselves in distress. I think probably the most salient fact is 1 in 3 people are now relying, not hoping, expecting, relying on an inheritance to fund retirement or pay off debt. So that's a new kind of phenomenon that's come about over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, is that the amount of money passing is so great that this reliance is becoming stronger and stronger. Many people don't have a plan B, so as a result you're getting claims that are coming through. So what we've done is we've created a network of support for those people dealing with those families, and that's all framed within something called the IDR network, or the IDRN. Now, you can find the IDRN on our website, which is idrlaw.co.uk, free to join, loads of stuff in there, and it includes 3 or 4, and it's going to be 5 in January, different types of apps that help people avoid claims further down the line. For example, we've got one called the Banker Mum and Dad that deals with any payments parents made to children to make sure that those are properly documented and dealt with. And there's 15 different types of claims, for example, in relation to that payment. So if we can take you through it, produce a memorandum of understanding, I'm not going to have to start sort of untangling the dispute between siblings as to what was the reason for mum or dad making that payment to us in life, now they're dead. And so there's all kinds of things going on, but it all stems from our website in the IDRN. So if anybody's interested in finding out more, that's where I would go. Because that's the center point for all our information.
Thanks, Martin. Sounds good. Thank you very much for all that you've shared. Really appreciate you taking the time out, and I wish you all the best for the future of the business.
That's great. Thanks for the opportunity, Mike. Thank you.